In this lesson, we're going to look at cubing a number and then taking a number to any power. And for that, we're really going to go into using a calculator. Okay, so firstly, a revision mainly of what is cubing a number. So in maths, when you're asked to cube a number, it means you multiply the number by itself and then itself again. Now this can also be thought of as to the power of 3, as we did talk about that in the last lesson. But for just now, we're just going to talk about cubing. So the cube of 4 is 4 times 4 times 4, and that comes to 64. If you do 4 times 4 and get 16, and times that by 4, you get 64. You can see it as 4 cubed, which gives you the same answer. But we usually see it like this, 4 and a wee 3. That's 4 to the power of 3, or 4 cubed in this case. So 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 and so on. It's not 4 times 3, which is the kind of common thing that people do wrong. And you can work out the volume of a cube using that idea. Instead of doing length times breadth times height, I suppose you could just call it L cubed for a formula, because the lengths are all the same in a cube. The length, the breadth and the height are all the same. Okay, so moving on to some ideas and calculations and how you would set it out or lay it out. So 2 cubed. So what we're doing, we're not doing 2 times 3. We're doing 2 times 2 times 2. Now what I would think about is that part first and get the answer to that part there. That's 4, and then times it by 2, so that gives you an answer of 8. Same idea here, 3 cubed. So we're doing 3 times 3 times 3. So that power is the number of times it's repeating. Again, I would advise you to think about this idea here. Do 3 times 3. Now that's 9. And then 9 times 3 is 27. Now you could write 9 times 3 here and take an extra line, up to you. Okay, a wee bit harder, 5 cubed. So 5 times 5 times 5. Again, thinking about these two bits here, that comes to 25. So I'm going to write that this time. Just 25, I need to times it by 5. You can do a sum at the side if you want, that'd be 125. Okay, harder again here, 6 cubed, so 6 times 6 times 6. Again, thinking about this bit here, 6 sixes are 36, and 36 times 6. Now, I would advise you to do a wee sum at the side. 6 sixes are 36, and there's a wee 3, it should be down here. Carry that, and you'll get 216. This is why, as these numbers up here get bigger, say it was to the power of 4, we kind of tend to use the calculator. Right, some negative numbers to finish. Negative 1 cubed. Negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. Again, do this part first, so be careful here. So negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1, but you still have to multiply by this bit at the end. And 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Okay, negative 2 cubed. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Think about this bit first. So that's negative 2 times negative 2 gives you positive 4. But you've still got to times by this minus 2 at the end. And that's going to give you negative 8. Okay, but what about dealing with any power? If you had the power of 4, the power of 5, and 6, and so on. Well, 3 to the power of 4, this is the number of repeats. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now you could do this. You could do 3 times 3 is 9. Times that by 3 you get 27, and times that by 3 you get 81, and so on. But we are going to look at how to do it in a calculator. Another quite neat way of doing this is that comes to 9, and that comes to 9, and 9 nines are 81. So how would you do this in a calculator? Well, you can either just type it in, like 3 to the power of 4, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, but if it was a power of 8, that'd get a bit boring and annoying. And if it was anything bigger, you might make mistakes. So it's important to know the buttons in your calculator. Now, best is this kind of calculator here, scientific calculator, and you should be able to find these buttons here. Now this button will just square the number for you. This one will cube it. These ones will do any power, these 4 buttons here. This is quite a common one, and so is this one here. Okay, so let's have a look at this idea here in a calculator. If I was asked to do 51 squared, I could just type 51 times 51. Or you could write 51, and then you could push that button there and then equals, and that should square it for you. Or you could put 51 in that button there and then the number 2, and that would square it for you. And you could replace that one with any of these. So that's the idea. Now, I'll get rid of that. If you were to replace, let's make it a harder one. Let's say we had, I don't know, something like 23 to the power of, I don't know, 6. What I would do is I would type my 23. I would find that button. Now bear in mind these ones would also work, any of these, and then I would put number 6, and then I would hit equals, and that should pop out the answer. So that's how to put a power into your calculator. Just use these buttons there. Those two will just be for squaring and cubing. Okay, finally, I'm going to look at this just before we move on. So use your calculator to find 3 squared plus 5 squared. So you can either use a calculator or you could do it in your head. 3 squared is just 9 plus 25, and then add that together, you're going to get 34. Okay, so you just do them individually and then add them. So again, here, 4 squared, that's 16, plus 2 squared, which is 4, 2 times 2, and then add them together. Right, last one, 1 squared, that's 1, plus 2 squared, that's 4, plus 3 squared, that's 9, and then add it all up, 14. You can also do takeaways with squares. 8 squared, 64, minus 5 squared, 25, take them away, 39. Again, 9 squared, 81, take away 6 squared, 36, get your answer. 7 squared, 49, 2 squared, 4, 3 squared, 9, and then that's like 49 take away 11, which is 38. This is a great technique, which is actually used in something called Pythagoras, which we'll teach you next year. Pythagoras was a Greek mathematician. He did things with right angle triangles, but he used this principle and this idea to solve problems.